Hey guys, it's Jimmy here. The world's on fire. Try to be nice to each other. Here we are, episode 3. We're closing this thing out. I woke up and I felt like a king. This king was soon interrupted by his mother, who ordered this king to come with her to go pick up my sister Kathy, over at her friend Renee's house. I begrudgingly joined my mother in front of the yellow Granada parked outside our house. We pulled up in front of Renee's house. Renee lived on a busy street. I wondered if they ever had a dog, and if they did have a dog, it was probably only one, because the dog probably ran out of the front door. They went to go try to catch the dog, and the traumatic experience unfolded in front of them when the dog was quickly run over by a car on the busy street they chose to buy a house on. I imagined the dog to be a Shih Tzu or a Lhasa. But enough about fantasy. It's back to reality. We pull up. We're in front of Renee's house. My mother nods her head for me to get out of the car and go get my sister. As I'm walking up towards the door, I see Renee walk by the picture window. I ring the bell. To no avail. I turn around, I look at my mother, and I put my hands in the air. Renee's parents pulled into the driveway in their brown Jaguar. Renee's parents, Ray and Marianne. Ray, mustached, handsome, olive skin, wearing a white shirt and a pair of dress slacks. Marianne, 50, but she looked 35. Beautiful woman. If there was a middle class, say, version of a Vogue magazine, like the Brockton edition, she'd be perfect for the cover. Ray gave me a look, turned back to see my mother sitting in her Granada, and gave her the wave to come in. I knew my mother was pissed. But she had to be nice. She got out of the car, and she came and joined us on the landing, and we all went up the stairs and into the house. Ray gave me a look. He put his finger to his mouth to be quiet, and then he motioned to go to the floor. He was on his hands and knees on his own deep shag white carpet, going down his hallway, summoning me to come with him. I didn't know what the hell to do, so I joined him. As we crawled down the hallway, like a couple of soldiers, I turned around, and there was Marianne on her hands and knees, too, in her own hallway. And she had a white cordless phone in her hand, and she handed it to me, and she said, "Jimmy, it's for you." On the other end of the phone was my father. He said there was a call from my work over at the Kensington Manor, and that I needed to call Terry. Terry from the restaurant had called, and he wanted to know if I was interested in playing a show this evening. My father said Terry had left a phone number. Just as I hung up the phone, I heard Kathy's voice and Renee's voice coming out of Renee's room. I looked at Terry, and he looked at me, and I knew the element of surprise was important. As they came out of the room, we both leaned up against the wall like we were trying to act like we were wallpaper. And as they slowly came by, Renee with a sweatshirt in her hand and Katie with her bags, Ray jumped up in the air. He scared both of the girls pretty good. It was pretty funny. They both dropped their things and screamed in horror. We laughed, and I rolled on the carpet as the girls walked by us, shaking their head, upset towards my mother. Ray, to me, and he said, "What are you doing getting phone calls here? What are you, in real estate or something?" I said, "No, I got a gig. I got a show tonight." Bullshit. I said, yeah. Yeah, I'm playing at the VFW. You tell me what time, he said. I'm showing up. Then he grabbed me by my hand and he led me downstairs. He flipped on a light and there it was. A drum set, a bass, a guitar, and a microphone. What are these, the coolest parents ever? Marianne walked by me and jumped on the drum set and laid down a quick, honest 4/4. She was good. She was real good. And then my mother and Katie came to the doorway. This party had been broken up. It was time to prepare for my gig. We got back to the house, and I was already semi-prepared. My synthesizer and all my chords were already rolled up, and the Hot Zone sign, it was ready to go. This is my second gig. I'm like on Brockton's summer tour at this point. Mind you, I only have 4 songs. My sister Mosey was nice enough to give me a ride over there. We pulled up in front. And Terry with the bloodshot face was outside, smoking a cigarette. He hit the hood of the car, and he said, "Hot Zone, glad you could make it." I said, "Thank you so much, Terry." My sister Mosey, being my roadie, grabbed some of my bags and my cords, and I took the Hot Zone sign and my synthesizer, and we made it up the stairs into the VFW. This place was dark. It was all carpeted, wood paneling all around you, pictures of old vets everywhere, some nice pictures of Rocky Marciano, an autographed picture of Marvin Hagler. As I looked around, I noticed this VFW had was a stage. And there was just one mic on it. Weirdly, the mic was kind of at belly height. I thought nothing of it. My sister was complaining because her teeth are floating. If you're not familiar with that phrase, that means she had to pee. I went to the bar, and as I was walking up, Terry poured me a ginger ale, and I asked him where the bathroom was. He pointed to a Michelob sign to his left, and to a heavy metal door. My sister, who was about to pee on the floor, which wouldn't have made a difference in this VFW, because it was dirty. It was very dirty. The walls and the carpet were filled with alcohol and disgust and years of disappointment. I asked Terry if we needed a key or something for the bathroom. He said, no, it's fine. And we walked down the stairs. We walked down a second set of stairs, and it started to get cold. It's summertime outside, mind you. And then we went down one more flight of stairs. And you could see through the crack in the door a little bit of sun coming through. And we opened the door, and there was cobblestones. We were outside. And as we walked outside, I noticed there were horse stalls. And in the horse stalls, there were Clydesdales. Huge, beautiful, majestic horses. 3 on each side. And then about 25 feet away, there was another door. As we walked by the Clydesdales, excited and weirded out, we opened up the other door. And there was another set of stairs. And we went down these set of stairs and opened up this door. And there was a fountain. And there was bushes and shrubbery. And there was 2 little enclaves to the left and to the right. Not knowing to gauge where we were, I just pointed to one of the enclaves and stayed over by the fountain and gave my sister some space. And as I was standing there by the fountain, out of nowhere it seemed, a small dwarf-like man came right next to me and peed into the fountain. Did not look at me once. He peed, did his business, and then just walked away. I turned around to see my sister Mosey coming towards me. We both looked at each other and ran for the door. Freaked out. Up the stairs we went. Up the other flight of stairs we went. Up the other flight of stairs we went. Trying to catch our breaths. We're getting out of breath. Up the other stairs we went, and then we opened the door, and we were back in the dirty VFW. And we got back up there. There's about 15 people up there. They were all kind of in athletic wear. I noticed one man was sitting all by himself, eating a chili dog. He had a big glass of milk next to him. He had a bandana around his head. There was another kind of overweight man with a muscle shirt on, cut at the sleeves, with cut-off sweatpants on, who was doing jumping jacks over by the jukebox. And then there was a woman. She had a satin jacket on and like tights. She had like dance tights on and wrestling sneakers. And she had one of her legs up on the table, stretching it out. All the attention turned towards the exit. An energy went in the room. You ever feel it when the mood or the energy in a room changes? This is what happened. I looked towards the door and these two beautiful black gals walked in. And they walked in, they were kind of shoulder to shoulder. As they parted their shoulders, there stood a man, sunglasses on, headphones, in an all-gray sweatsuit with white Converse on. I remember it like it was yesterday. Gold rings on every finger, and one gold chain with a cross on it that he wore outside of his sweatshirt. This guy looks important. This guy must own this place, or he must be part of whatever's going on tonight. I went to the bar and I said, Terry, what's going on? What is this gig about tonight? He said, we have a contest. Oh, that explains it. That explains all the people in their athletic gear. I was so excited I didn't dig deeper into the contest. I went over and I grabbed my synthesizer and I brought it up to the stage. I found a chair and I put my sign on it. And I had my sister Mosey come and wrangle a couple of chords with me. There was a mic there. We got to do a mic check. And weirdly, Terry knew all about the gear there. It seems like he'd been working there forever. He told me he'd been there for about 20 years. As I was setting up, a woman came up on the stage with a 4-foot ladder and rudely almost pushed me off of the stage. She'd take her stapler and put it right down next to my synthesizer like I was invisible. She had a sign. She had a sign in her hands. It was rolled up. She put her ladder down, not caring if I was in the way or not. She climbed up. She reached out for one corner of the sign and she tacked one side up and she tacked the bottom out. Just as she did that, she wobbled and she almost fell off the ladder. Me being Mr. Nice Guy was about to help her, and then I was like, I'm going to wait. This woman almost assassinated my synthesizer. I already have a resentment. I've already got a resentment copped against this woman. She got back up on the ladder and she started rolling up the sign. I was like, okay, now we can figure out what this thing is. What kind of crowd I'm going to be playing to this evening. She started rolling out the sign and said, first, she pulled half of the sign, said, first annual. Okay, out with it. Then she came back down and she got the stapler again off my thing. She went back up on the ladder. And my sister Mosey and I are sitting there looking at her. And she rolls it out. More of the signs. First annual this must be like some kind of Father's. It can't be Father's Day. It's not June. First annual farting contest of the greater New England area. My second gig is a farting contest at a VFW on the north side of Brockton. You can't write this stuff. People are starting to load into this place. We went from about 15 to maybe about 20 people, and then another 10 people came in. They all look like Where do these people find each other? Is there some kind of classified section in the back of the Brockton Enterprise for this? Terry asked me to give him a hand, and we took a couple of tables, and we joined them together and put 3 chairs in back of them for what would be the judges. Apparently this farting contest has got some judges. Terry turned down the lights. He put on the jukebox. This night is starting to start. The drinks are flowing. The energy is going. It's time for this thing to begin. The judges had taken their seats. One of them was the wrestling coach from Brockton High. Another one was the owner of the Italian Kitchen. And the other one, the famous Brockton hairstylist, Duke Scopa, who was brought all the way in from Stoughton, Mass., from a town over, to do this event. Rumor has it, there was a $25,000 insurance policy on the diamond that he had in his ear. This night was getting big. This had Brockton celebrities up the wazoo. Hello, VFW friends, and welcome to the first annual farting contest here in the greater New England area. Please give a big, warm round of applause for our first contestant. Coming in from Avon, Massachusetts, weighing in at 145 pounds, who's just eaten 4 chili dogs and 1 gallon of whole milk. Please give a big warm welcome to Doreen. Doreen took the stage. It looked like she had been here before, but there was never any other contest. She got on the stage. She tried to get the crowd excited. She put her hands up in the air. She had a cigarette in her mouth, and she threw it down on the ground. She rubbed it into the floor with her wrestling shoe. She looked at the crowd. She went from the left to the right like a tiger in a cage, going back and forth. Then she stood in front of the microphone. She flipped around. The crowd went silent. Is this really going to happen? This woman can fart on command? We listened. She took her open palms and she made fists. And as she made fists, out came the sound of flatulence. The flatulence just sounded like a wet towel hitting the linoleum floor. Not that impressive. The crowd looked at Doreen and instantly turned on her by booing her. And she looked at the crowd and gave everybody the middle finger as our next contestant came up. This was a kind of a heavy-set guy wearing a bandana and a shirt with the sleeves taken off. He came up on the stage and he started doing push-ups. And then he did some squats up and down. He had 2 chili dogs in his hands, and he took them both and he put them down near my synthesizer, and I was almost ready to kill this guy. As he turned around, he moonwalked right back up to the microphone. I had to give him points for style. He took his hands and put them behind his head like he was sleeping, but standing up. And he let out gas. This was big. This felt like a stop-the-car moment as far as gas situations go. This guy might need a towel. The crowd gave him a light round of golf applause as he looked at the crowd and then just shook his head and went off. Then, our superstar, the black guy, The black guy with the sunglasses and the headphones with the gray sweatsuit took the stage. He walked on the stage with the two beautiful black girls with him. And the two beautiful black girls stood next to him like two beautiful pillars. He took off his glasses and handed his glasses to one of them. The crowd started clapping. Then he took off his headphones and handed them to the other. The crowd went wild. He put his hands up in the air and brought them down like he was about to do a karate pose. And the crowd went quiet. He flipped around backwards and his butt landed right in front of the microphone. I can't state how quiet it was. You could basically hear Terry's heart beating all the way over on the other side of the room from behind the bar. This guy raised both his hands in the air and he made his fingers into two guns and he shot them up in the air. He threw up his left hand and a fart came out, and he threw up his right hand and another fart came out, and then he threw up both hands and he farted for what seemed like 10 seconds complete. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It was the longest fart I think I've ever heard before in my life. He took a knife to a basketball and just stuck it in there and just squished it. That's what his butt made the sound of. It was disgusting, but it was talent, no doubt. The crowd went crazy. They were stomping on the floor, stomping and stomping and stomping. He put both his hands up in the air. The two gals smiled and just waved to the crowd like they were in a boat show. Like this is something they did every day. Like this, I felt like I was in Vegas watching this guy. This was true talent. I don't think we need to see any more contestants. I looked over at the judges and our hairstylist friend Duke. A tear came to his eye. Terry looked at me. He put both hands in the air and he waved. It was time for me to start rocking. The jukebox music stopped. The talent had left the stage. Hot Zone was about to go to work. I hit the play button. I had a nice little 98 beats per minute loaded up with some nice heavy bass and some high, nice synth stuff, and I went straight into it. It didn't matter what I did. This crowd was already primed and ready to go. I looked out there, and the people were dancing and dancing. The two hot black girls, our champion. Everybody was swaying back and forth. Drinks were going. Chili dogs were flying around. The mood was big. Then, one of the judges came up to the stage. They didn't need to make that. This deliberation wasn't going to take that much time. I looked over at the judges, and I turned my synthesizer down. All the contestants came to the stage. Doreen looked defeated. She was on the stage, but she already had her satin jacket back on. And then came our champion. Our champion came to the stage. He was standing next to Doreen. He went down on one knee, like he was about to tie his shoe. But instead of tying his shoe, he put one hand up in the air, and he grabbed the microphone, the fart microphone. And he brought that microphone to his mouth. And he said this: all my life, I've had to live with this. My parents, my coach, everybody always said, God gave you this talent. You're special. But I gotta tell you something, friends. I didn't always feel special. I couldn't throw a football 15 city blocks, but I had this. I had this talent that God gave me. And tonight, right here, I found you. And he looked over at Doreen. You make this world so much smaller for me, in a place where I felt so lost, because you have the same talent I do. I didn't think I could find beauty and talent, such a raw talent like I have in another person. Would you make me the happiest? here in the New England area and be my wife. Doreen was completely hit from the side. She had no idea what to do. She looked dead into this man's eyes. She looked out at the crowd, and she looked back at him. And the crowd, they let out the big, oh, we were all seeing this go down in front of us. It was wild. She said, you know something? If I can't beat him, I might as well marry him. I looked out in the crowd and I saw Ray and Mary Ann were there. Ray to the front of the stage and he went into his pocket. What's he going to do? Ruin this moment for all of us? He went into his wallet and he took out a card. Apparently he was a minister and he could marry people. He had the power to marry in the state of Massachusetts. There's no way this is going to happen. Ray took both their hands and he put them together and he said, Do you, sir, take this woman to be your lawful wedded wife, to love and to hold and to honor and to cherish in sickness and in health? And he looked dead into her eyes. And he took the microphone, he put it to his butt, and he farted. And the crowd went crazy. Ray looked at her and he said, Do you take this man to be your husband, your lawful wedded husband? In sickness and health, do you promise to love him, to have him, and to hold him, and to cherish him in sickness and in health? And she took the microphone, and I'm not even messing around. She put it in back of her, and she did a double fart. And the crowd, the place almost burnt down with excitement. I did a version of dun 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 dun, and the crowd started going crazy. I looked out into the crowd. I saw my sister Mosey being consoled by a heavy-set gal in a Stonehill College sweatshirt, and she cried. It was an emotional time for all of us. This is Hot Zone's second show. There's a farting contest and an impromptu wedding. This is probably one of the most emotional, impromptu, beautiful things I've seen happen in my short time being alive. And I owe it to Hot Zone. And I owe it to Terry with the bloodshot face. And I owe it to the VFW. Ever since that evening, anytime anybody, anywhere, ever passes gas in front of me, be it in a 7-Eleven or a Shaw's, or casually on a couch while watching a film, I don't think, wow, this person's an animal. It makes me think of love. Thank you for listening. This is Brockton Novellas. I'm Jimmy Kelleher, your author and narrator.